Are you being experimented on and you don't even know it? Have you ever seen weird vans or planes spraying weird chemicals overhead? Ever had a family member randomly get ill with seemingly no cause? It could be coincidence, or it could be the government. And guess what? It wouldn't be the first time. How do we know this? Because 30 years ago they were caught red-handed. Stick with us as we dive into the shocking discovery of how America experimented on its own citizens. Back in 1994, the US government released a report called T-NSIAD-94-266, and what it contained was shocking. The report was titled Human Experimentation, an overview on Cold War-era programs. And nothing is scarier than the fact that these were designated federal experiments performed on actual people since World War II. Of course, their reasoning? National security. Funny how that blanket term can be used to justify almost anything heinous committed by the US. But who cares about that, right? Anyway, what does the report cover? Well, it details the scope, scale, and ethical lapses of radiological, chemical, and biological experiments done on people by the DoD and, ironically, the HHS, or Health and Human Services. We can be grateful for the brave and difficult work done by the Government Accountability Office for uncovering this information back then. It reported the abuses to Congress, who then went about trying their best to support the victims and prevent anything like this from happening in the future. So what was the official reason for the experiments? Understanding the effects of hazardous substances for defense purposes. Sure. I bet you're thinking surely it couldn't be that many people though, right? It wouldn't be more than a few hundred. The US wouldn't do that. And in a sense you'd be right. It was only in the hundreds of thousands. The crazy part? We don't even know the exact numbers because the records are incomplete. But that definitely couldn't be intentional. Totally legit. Now, how bad could these experiments really have been? Well, the report stated that all they did was test a few substances, nothing crazy, just radiation, blister and nerve agents like mustard gas, a banned chemical weapon, biological agents and psychoactive drugs like LSD, perfectly harmless. And would you believe it, but shocker, there were ethical violations discovered. What could they possibly be? Well, they definitely weren't liking and subscribing to our channel, since that does nothing but help the beloved algorithm love us. First off was the fact that in many instances there was a total lack of consent. People were experimented on without even knowing it was happening. And if they were informed, they didn't give consent and were experimented on anyway. There was so much secrecy involved that even basic protections like medical oversight or risk management were completely absent and ignored. Basically, these people didn't care they were hurting or potentially killing their own people. Now here's where the story gets irritating. The report states that determining health impacts was challenging due to poor record keeping and the sheer amount of substances used. Some people were hurt immediately, suffering chemical burns and radiation poisoning, while others suffered long-term effects like cancer and slow brain damage. And in typical fashion, the full extent of the harm was unknown because the notes were either lost, incomplete, or completely destroyed. I guess you might be thinking, surely, since the government now knew about these terrible things, they would definitely do the right thing and help the people who were hurt, bring the evildoers to justice, and make sure that this never, ever, ever happened again. Firstly, if you hope that, then I'm sorry to say, but you're adorably naive, as evidenced by Edward Snowden's 2013 leaks exposing the NSA's mass surveillance of their own citizens, a massive overreach and breach of privacy for millions. It seems very little has been learned or changed. So back to 1994. Were people helped out after this was done to them? In a word, no. While there was some compensation for a select few, many people still suffered and some even died due to the experiments, like radiological testing for nuclear weapons development, chemical weapons tests to see how civilians reacted, pathogen testing on civilians to understand disease spread or biological warfare risks. COVID, anyone? And LSD to test mind control techniques. Yeah, it sounds hilarious, except it's not. Look up MK Ultra. Many never saw any assistance at all. As for those who committed the test and hurt people, did they see jail? Nope. Scientists, directors, and even the people that assisted them all got off scot-free. The deaths of everyday Americans on their hands, hidden behind plausible deniability and statutes of limitations. In effect, the government did what it wanted, and no one could do a thing about it. Especially since back then the public as a whole trusted the government to have its back. As for how they managed to pull it off without people knowing, you'll be just as surprised as we were when we researched this. They would spray biological agents over cities like San Francisco. Sound familiar? Test prisoners and orphans who had no protections and legal recourse in the name of patriotic duty. Or when testing it on soldiers, like with mustard gas, they were ordered to secrecy. As we wrap this up, we want to ask you, do you think experiments like this are still ongoing? Is the worldwide spraying by aircraft a part of it, or just a hoax? Are you, or is anyone you know, maybe being experimented on right now? Let us know your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Stay safe out there.